Good morning, ma'am. I'm Ishaan Singh from Class 10B, Greenfingers Global School, Kharga, Navi Mumbai. Today, I have got an opportunity to speak on the wonderful topic titled as Pandemic of COVID-19 and its effect on India and Brazil. Now, as of today, there are more than 1 crore and 10 lakh plus global cases of COVID-19. Out of them, 55 lakh people have survived this disease, while unfortunately, our world has lost 5 lakh people in this epidemic. Now there are some countries in the world such as United States of America, India, Brazil and Russia, which are the hardest hit by this epidemic. Today we are going to discuss about India and Brazil in status of COVID-19. I have taken these two countries because they have same geographical status, same density in terms of population, same large slums, and both have spike. Now we'll use the following parameters for comparison. These are total number of cases, total number of death cases, third testing per thousand people, fourth fatality rate, and fifth government response. So we are going to describe them in one by one. The first criteria which we are going to discuss is total confirmed cases. If we look at India, there are more than 6,26,000 confirmed COVID-19 cases, whereas in Brazil there are more than 15 lakh confirmed COVID-19 cases, which is 2.5 the times of India. Now, if we look at the second criteria, which is the total confirmed death cases, we'll notice that India has 18,213 death cases, whereas in Brazil there are 62,045 death cases, which is 3.5 times that of India. Now the third criteria which we are going to discuss about is testing. Testing is nothing but when people certain number of people out of every 1,000 people of the country are tested to check whether they are positive or negative in terms of coronavirus. So if we look at India, every 14 people out of every 1,000 people are tested for COVID-19, whereas in Brazil only 3 people out of every 1,000 people are tested. Now there is an enormous difference between these two countries in terms of testing performed per 1,000 people. Now India is conducting 23 tests per 1,000 people to get one positive case, whereas Brazil is performing only uh, conducting only 3 tests per 1,000 people to get one positive case, which is extremely low. Now the fourth criteria which we are going to discuss about is fatality rate. If we talk about of India, its fatality rate is even less than the annual global fatality rate, which is 3.5 to 4%, and India has 3.14%, but Brazil extends up to 6 to 8%. Now the fifth and the most important criteria which we are going to describe is the government response. Now when we compare the stringent of these both the countries, we'll notice that the Indian government has 100% stringent, whereas Brazil was 70 to 80% stringent only. Now the government stringency index includes the parameters which include school and workplace closure, second restriction of public government gatherings, and the third is complete transport or travel restriction. Now if we look at Brazil president was against lockdown and hence failed to implement the complete lockdown in the country, and the lockdown was as similar as the uh, opening of lockdown in of India phase. Now if we talk about India, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi has imposed the world's longest lockdown, the most stringent lockdown in the world, which lasted for 100 days and counting. Now I am going to show you my web diagram. As you can see, this web diagram is based on effectiveness of isolation, testing and tracking in reducing uh, tra transmission. Now this column is based on the secondary infection per case. Now in the first cell you can see this 3.6, which is the number of average number of cases if no measures are taken. Now in the second cell you will see that the rate has reduced to 2.5%, and this would be possible if we start mass testing at least with an average of 5% of population. Now if we talk about the third cell, it has reduced to 1.8%, which would happen in reality only when we start following the self isolation within home. Now the fourth cell, as you can see, it has reduced to 1.4%, which will happen only if along with self isolation with the home we also start app based tracking. Now the fifth one, in the fifth cell you will see that it has reduced to 1.2%. This would happen only if we also start contact tracing, and in the last cell we will see that it has reduced to 0.9%, even less than 1%. This would happen only if we start manual contact tracing of all contacts plus app-based tracing. So at the end, I would request all the Indians to follow the rules and regulations implemented by our government, and this would help our country in future generation to fight against COVID-19. Thank you very much, ma'am.